series presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer and Icon Executive Asia. My name is Pat Soya from Icon Executive Asia, and I will be your host for this live stream event. The Inclusive is a series of virtual seminars produced by the Inquirer, spearheaded by the members of the Inquirer's esteemed editorial team. It takes on an inclusive approach to learning. Everyone is encouraged to join the event and participate in the discussion. Conducted via live stream, a chosen subject that is of current concern will be discussed comprehensively during the seminar and will showcase experts on the subject who will share their best practices. For our discussion today, we hope to answer the question, how will we live after the enhanced community quarantine is lifted or eased? It's definitely an interesting and timely topic that most of us are curious to know about. But before we move forward and introduce our panel to the viewers, we would like to thank the following sponsors for making this live stream event possible. Thank you to SM Supermalls, who continues to serve us with essential services such as SM Markets, banks, pharmacies, takeout delivery food options. Visit the Facebook page of your nearest SM Mall or follow the SM Supermalls Viber community. We would also like to thank Arcovia City by MegaWorld. We'd also like to extend our gratitude to the organizations that supported us in this project. Inquirer.net, Inquirer Lifestyle, Icon Executive Asia, and Shoppertainment Live. Now it's time to introduce our moderators for today's session. First up is Ms. Thelma San Juan. She is a journalism graduate of St. Teresa's College, and after her early stint in the Times Journal, she opened the Manila Chronicle with other editors during the People Power Revolution in 1986. During her time as the concurrent lifestyle editor of the Philippine Daily Inquirer, she pioneered the glossy magazine publishing in the country. She edited Metro magazine back in the early 90s and was the general manager of ABS-CBN Publishing. In 2008, she returned to the Inquirer as the lifestyle editor, where she conceptualized and produced the flagship event, the Face Off fashion shows, and the popular Best Desserts event. She has also edited various coffee table books on the arts, lifestyle, and travel. Good afternoon, Thelma.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Welcome to the webinar of the series of Inquirer. This is our first lifestyle webinar, and since we've been working from home, as you can see, ngayon lang kami nakapag-makeup ulit, but we promise you a very informative and distressing afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Ms. Thelma. Moving on to our second moderator, Ms. Cheche Moral, is the assistant editor for Inquirer Lifestyle, a graduate of University of the Philippines, Diliman. She is an Inquirer old-timer and a seasoned reporter covering the lifestyle beat for 20 years. Good afternoon, Cheche.
Type from our panel of health experts as we ease into GCQ whenever that may be, so that we may have proper guidance as we navigate the so-called new normal. We will be asking the panel questions, which we believe you may also want answers to, like, are we really ready to go to transition into GCQ? And does that mean we have flattened the curve? And if not, how can we continue to protect ourselves as we go forward, especially since like it or not, many of us have to step out of the safety of our homes to make a living. I hope you can stick with us throughout, because later in the program, our panel will be answering questions from you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Cheche. So thank you for that. Now that we've heard from our moderators, I'll hand this over to them so we can get the ball rolling for the introduction of the speakers. Thelma, Cheche.
Yes, our first speaker, we welcome Dr. Rafael Castillo. He is professor in cardiovascular medicine for the Adventist University of the Philippines College of Medicine, a senior consultant in adult cardiology at Manila Doctors Hospital, a trustee and council member of the International Society of Hypertension, and a member of the Science Advisory Board of the American Heart Association, Public Health Foundation of India. And of course, as I hope you all know, that Dr. Rafael Castillo is a very popular columnist of Inquirer. He's run so many informative columns on COVID. So, good afternoon, Dr. Castillo.
Hi, good afternoon, Thelma. And thank you, Thelma, Cheche, and Pat for inviting me to be part of this very important and timely the panel discussion. I think we're really in unprecedented times. These are very difficult times, very challenging times indeed. But it's not like where we were around 4 months ago at the start when it was really completely uncharted territory. So no one really knew what to expect. Well, now 3 or 4 months later, I think more or less we know a little bit about what we're confronted with. We know a little bit about the virus. We know a little bit about the disease which it causes. A little bit about the complications it can bring those who are afflicted with the virus, and more or less. It's now getting clear how we can perhaps prevent the infection and prevent also the complications. So I think discussions like this are important so that we can really be empowered. You know, when knowledge is empowering and when we're properly informed, then we're not so afraid anymore of what we're facing. And I hope we can do that, achieve that this afternoon. Thank you, Thelma.
Thank you, Dr. Castillo. Also with us today is Dr. Robbie Mariales. He is an orthopedic surgery consultant for prestigious hospitals such as the Makati Medical Center Manila, and Philippine General Hospital. He is also a clinical assistant professor for the University of the Philippines College of Medicine. But most importantly, Dr. Robbie is a COVID-19 survivor who can share with us personal insights from when he battled with the virus. Good afternoon, Doc Robbie.
Good afternoon, Cheche. Hello, Thelma. Hello, Pat. Dr. Castillo. I'm glad that you're having me now. I'm glad that you invited me. I'm here to share my personal experiences, my insights on how it was to be affected with the disease and how it was after the recovery, after I got out of the hospital. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks. 1 week of that is in the ICU. I was intubated and ventilated. But
Naghang ho yata. Pat?
can you hear me?
Yes, can you go on?
Yeah. As I said, I was admitted to the hospital. I stayed there in March for about 2 weeks. 1 week of that was in the ICU. I was intubated and ventilated, mechanically ventilated, and somehow with the skill of the doctors and with the grace of God, I made it through, and I have recovered, and it's getting better. I'm improving, and right now I'd like to share my experiences about that with you and entertain questions.
Thank you, Doc. That's really a good lift for the beginning of this webinar. And now we move to our last speaker. Dr. Gwen D. Agra is the director of the Institute of Pulmonary Medicine of St. Luke's Medical Center in Global City. She is an experienced consultant with a history of working in the hospital and healthcare industry. She specializes in inpatient care, clinical research, and medical education. She is focused on internal and pulmonary medicine, which is a very important branch now. Good afternoon, Dr. D. Agra.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Pat, Cheche, and Thelma for inviting us to share our experiences and insights here. It was during that time that Dr. Mariales was confined. That was when we all had this sudden outpour of patients into the ER or ICUs and wards on COVID. We had to scramble for data. All we had were Wuhan data, then eventually data from Italy, and we had to weigh all of these evidences together to formulate our own pathways in treating. So 2 months later, this is now in May, at least we now have access to convalescent plasma. There are other drugs that are coming in. So we're sort of more optimistic. We're not as frustrated and helpless as it was in March.
Thank you, Dr. Agram. Now that we can already start the ball rolling, we'll start. We hope you stay with us because this will be a very freewheeling discussion and we will be getting questions from you later. So, Dr. Castillo, may I start by asking, do you think we are already flattening the curve? And can you explain what is flattening the curve? And can we expect a spike once the quarantine is eased?
Yes, I think that's a very important question, Thelma. I think by all indications, we are flattening the curve. When we say flattening the curve, we're not really saying we're flattening it out completely as in dead flat. What we want to achieve is a blunting of the curve so that the peak of the curve is not such that it will overwhelm our healthcare system. And I think we have achieved that over the last couple of months. So that would indicate that the quarantine measures and the lockdown were effective in helping flatten the curve. We have several parameters which we look at so that we can say we're successful in flattening the curve. So one, this is the doubling time of confirmed cases as well as the case fatalities, those who die from the disease. And the doubling time has now significantly lengthened, whereas before it was 2.5 to 3 days. Now it's somewhere between 5.5 to 6 days. So that's
In
good
short,
enough.
matagal ho ang araw bago mag-double yung rate ang case.
Yes. Oo, yung mas matagal na yung gusto sabihin bumabagal na yung pagdami ng cases, no? It's a complicated equation when you try to compute for the doubling time because some might say, oh, bakit 100 to 200 plus na lang tayo ngayon? So kung 10,000 it will take, let's say, theoretically 50 days. Ano? Hindi ganun kasimple. No? It's a cumulative doubling time. No? And it's more complicated than that. But to make the long story short, gusto sabihin medyo nakokontrol na natin. No? Less na yung cases which are new cases which are being confirmed. And the doubling time, like we said, of people who died from the disease is also lengthening. So that means, as Dr. Gwen mentioned earlier, we now know a little better in how to manage our patients with the severe COVID disease, and they're surviving it. They're no longer dying when they get into a critical stage. So, by all indications, yes, it looks like we're flattening the curve, but it's up to this point. We don't know. It's a very dynamic ball game. It may change completely by next week. Let's say when the lockdown is lifted, it can completely change overnight. So we don't know. So it's still a question mark. What will happen if the lockdown is lifted? Although personally, yes, personally, I think it's about time that we try to calibrate already and start sparring with the virus. I think we know a little more on how to prevent the virus and how to treat it should our patients get infected with the virus.
How about Dr. Agra and Doc Proby? Meron kayong masasabi doon sa pag-flatten ng curve?
Dr. Gwen?
Yes.
Yes, the number of cases have been decreasing a little bit, but as of last week, meron pa mga 300 cases that turned out positive in one day. No, so we're not too happy with that yet. Yes, I agree with the decreased doubling time, but still, we haven't tested most of the population in Manila. So hindi maybe there should be really a graduated lifting of the ECQ, no? Hindi pwedeng immediately medyo very lax na tayo. There's gonna be chaos. So just like what we are there were some cases already that turned positive again. Dr. Robbie?
Dr. Robbie, ano
Yeah,
po
what I'm concerned. I'm sorry.
Yes.
What I'm concerned with is the detection rate. I mean, how much are we detecting? Is the testing sufficient? Are we testing enough people? Because at this point we have exceeded maybe 100 something thousand tests. But remember, our population is 109 million. We have barely touched 1% of the population of Metro Manila. And like Portugal, for instance, they have tested about 5% of their entire population. That's considered one of the highest, or if not the highest in the world. So we are far, far behind from saying that we are testing enough. So that said, we might be really having a lot more cases out there when testing, if testing steps up, we will certainly detect a lot more cases. It does not mean that there is a sharp increase in cases. It just means that we are just detecting curve, not in a position to say if we are getting there already. So we'll see. I'm not an epidemiologist, but I certainly have doubts in the amount of testing that we have right now.
How
Yeah,
about, yes, I think we have 8,000 tests a day. Is that adequate? Any one of you can answer.
yes, Thelma. Considering, if we look back, we started with 300 tests a day. Then it became 1,000, 1,005, 2,000. So reaching 8,000, and hopefully the government attains its target of 15 to 20,000 by end of the month. I think that is fairly good enough that to be able to detect not the cases in the general population, but targeted cases of individuals who are really highly suspect to have COVID, like those who are really exposed to COVID. We can't possibly really test the whole population. It's not really cost effective to do that, but we should be able to test those who are
Yeah.
strongly suspected to have it.
Doc, earlier, you had a very worrisome column about the emergency situation in the hospitals. So, kaya na ho ba ng hospitals natin ngayon?
Yes,
Kasi I learned that some are turning away cases. So, let's say, kung iniisip ng tao kung magkakasakit, will we be turned away? How are our hospitals coping with the load?
yes, if you remember, Thelma, that was about 5 weeks ago when I came out with that commentary, and it was something I felt was very urgent because at that time, I think we were not able to cope with the increase in the number of COVID cases, and most of the tertiary hospitals were already maxed out at that time. St. Luke's, Medical City, Makati Medation, Manila Doctors, they were maxed out already, and so it was because of the sudden surge of cases. Now, I'd say that has somehow slowed down. In fact, our government COVID designated hospitals, I think they're only running to 50, 60% capacity. So there's now some slack. That means that even if we have a minor surge, should there be a decision to gradually to do a calibrated lifting of the lockdown, I think we can see if we see that the healthcare system of the country, or especially of NCR, is able to handle to accommodate all the new cases, then that's fine. If we have just a minor, a tempered surge, then that would be acceptable. But what would be really perilous again if we're maxed out and we still have an increasing number of new cases. So that's when we may have to impose more stricter measures once again.
So how are your hospitals preparing for this expected surge, Doc? Whether it's a big surge of new cases or
Yes.
what are we looking at?
Yeah, number one, I think most LGUs have now prepared for areas or facilities where they can isolate the COVID cases which are relatively mild. Because before, all patients with COVID symptoms, they all rushed to the ER and would like themselves admitted in all the hospitals. And that really overwhelmed. The healthcare system was choking up at that time. I think now we're more organized. So there are facilities to accommodate milder cases, even up to moderate cases, so that only the ones who would require critical care will really have to go to the tertiary hospitals and get confined there. And like I said, as of a few days ago, when I last checked, several big government, uh, COVID designated government hospitals, they're running around 50 to 60% capacity. So that means they can still accommodate an additional 40 to 50%. They still have beds for additional critical COVID cases.
So to all the three, Jem, may question ka?
I think just a follow up to that, so that we may lessen the burden on healthcare workers and hospitals. How can people prepare? How can we protect ourselves as we go forward?
Uh,
Uh,
Sorry. Maybe go ahead or okay. Actually, if you read my column today, I think we have to deal with a more serious problem. It's getting to be much more serious than the physical effect or consequence of COVID. It's a mindset problem. We're all cowering in fear. We're all resigned to be victims of COVID. I think we really need a lot of mental boosting. We need to reboot our mindset and approach the problem from a victor's mindset, from a winner's mindset and not from a victim's mindset. I think if we can do this, we will empower ourselves not only to resist, not only to resist getting the infection, but also being able to cope should we get infected with the virus. Because I,
Para ho dun sa hindi nakabasa ng column nyo, sinabi nyo na ang kalaban natin napakaliit na virus na
yes.
pwedeng matalo ng paghuhugas ng kamay and sabon, right? And then
Mhm.
it doesn't follow naman that if you get exposed to somebody na infected, you automatically get it. You just have to have, importante, malakas ang ating immune
Resistant.
system. Yes. So,
Tama.
yun ang sinasabi niyong kailangan lumakas ang mindset natin. But anyway, so ano sa tingin ninyo? Can I ask the three doctors, do you think we should really extend the ECQ up to May or up to June? Yung quarantine na to, ano ang opinion ninyo?
Are we ready for it? Because kailangan muna, dapat we have to have a good picture of the enemy, di ba? How many people out there are actually asymptomatic but infected? They are the ones who can potentially spread it because they're confident, they're fine, but they actually have the virus. So are we ready to let out all these people out in the public? If we do not have an idea, if we do not test enough, then we don't know. If we have some amount of testing, we can limit the restrictions to these people.
So in short, you're favor of a quarantine up to May 31.
Am I in favor? Yes. I think we are not ready for opening it this soon, the next week. We are not ready for it.
Can
How
you
about
expound on
Dr.
what you said earlier, Doc Gwen, about graduated lifting of the
Yeah.
ECU?
Yes, because I don't think we can immediately lift and everybody just goes back to their normal lifestyle. No, everybody's trying to adjust. Like what Miss Telma brought up about the hospitals having an emergency and it's so difficult to get into the hospital. Yes, even doctors are more defensive this time and they want all patients swabbed even if they don't have the symptoms. It's unfortunate if you're going to deliver a baby around this time, you're going to have to be swabbed also, and all the doctors will be in full PPE when you give birth. No, so it's still, even in the hospital, as we plan to open up the clinics again, it's not going to be the same. So it's going to be hybrid telemedicine and face-to-face consults. So you're supposed to screen your patients first by tele, and then those who has to be seen face-to-face, they're the only ones who will go to the clinic. You limit the patients. So we have, like in St. Luke's, even clinics that are face-to-face, they will take turns on by day. They have days that are assigned only when they will hold clinic, so that you won't have a lot of traffic for the patients.
So
And
in
then
your view, Doctora, when should we start going out to the hospitals? What I'm saying, to see our dentists and all that.
okay. Uh,
Kailan ang
Actually,
relax
if there's really
quarantine?
a need, okay, you can get in touch with your doctor or your dentist, and then they would assess, so they can triage who are the ones that they can temporize and who are the ones that they really need to see. And then, of course, they will exercise the necessary precaution. So even the clinics, we have to prepare, no? Meron ng mga HEPA filters and UV
So,
lamp
so
and
you're in favor of the extended quarantine to May
yes,
31?
yes. But eventually, we're really gonna have to face it. Pero graduated, it's really not gonna be an instant back to normal thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of what kind of preparation we're going through, the hospital, for instance, in Makati, there are a lot of clinics with 2 cubicles inside, some with up 4. So you can have 2 doctors simultaneously having clinic back then. But once we are permitted to go back to our clinics, you can have only 1 doctor at a time having clinic. You can have only a maximum of 4 hours a day per doctor. You can only see a maximum of 10 patients a day. And these patients cannot just walk in. They have to make an appointment first. They have to be well, you have to communicate with them first. They have to set an appointment, and the guard will not let them in if they cannot show you a text message on their phone that they have an appointment with their doctor. And on top of that, we also have to consider, of course, the schedule of the other doctors. We have to juggle around with our schedules. We cannot have too many doctors. The whole point is we have to limit the traffic. We want to reduce.
At saka naka-PPE ho kayo.
Sorry.
Even if it's just a clinic visit, naka-PPE ang mga doctors.
It's not absolutely required kasi merong iba that the exposure isn't so much. There's no strict requirement that we have to wear PPEs, but the minimum is the mask and the face shield. The face shield. Some people would want to use PPEs, but we are not strictly required to use PPE. But there will also be some physical changes in the clinic. Kung kailangan ng HEPA filter, as mentioned by Dr. Gwen, it's to increase the filtration plus the air exchange. They want to have a minimum air exchange in the room, like 12 air exchanges an hour.
How
So
about us patients who will go? What should we have? Should we wear, aside from the mask, face shields and glasses, long sleeves? Kasi ganun ho ang suot ng mga tao ngayon, di ba? When
put on a mask. Hindi po papapasukin ang walang mask.
Yes.
Yun ang minimum. Not necessarily a face shield. Hindi naman.
So
Yes,
what
basta
are the
dalawang
contact
nakakas.
points? Yeah. What are the contact points that we should be wary of when we go to see our doctors or our dentists?
or even when we go to the malls later on, di ba?
Basta palagi kayo may baon na mask. As statistics would show, if I were wearing a mask and the patient is wearing a mask, there's very little contamination. And
Correct.
always bring a bottle of hand rub. So avoid touching any surface and then touching your face. So always, for us doctors, hand rub after each physical examination before each patient.
It's not difficult for me. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I have a sink and soap right there in the clinic. I don't even have to go out. I wash my hands all the time. Between patients, I wash my hands all the time. Uh, all other doctors should get used to that. Um, yung alcohol hindi sapat sa akin. Eh. Gusto ko nag-ano ko talaga, soap and water.
So, Doc, pwede nyo na ikwento yung
How you got sick?
Sorry, paano?
pwede nyo na ikwento yung experience ninyo.
Okay.
You know how
First, I don't know where I got it. Baka nakuha ko sa mga patients ko. I see a lot of foreign patients. Americans, Chinese, Europeans who travel around Southeast Asia. And siguro doon ko nakuha the awareness of the illness might be there, but we are not that careful. So eventually I started having fever mga second week of March, lasted for a week. Then I regularly exercise. I felt weaker, and eventually my wife persuaded me to go to the hospital. Nagagalit na nga siya sa akin. Pumayag na ako. We went to the hospital on a Sunday, and right at that point, na-confine kami pareho. She had no fever, but she had dry cough. We were both swabbed at the ER. We were both confined in separate rooms. That was a Sunday. Then she was getting better. I was getting worse. We kept track of each other by messenger video. So I can see she was getting better and I was getting worse. Tapos nakikita ko yung X-ray ko eh. Kasi once the X-ray was taken, you could see it immediately on the machine. So I saw my X-rays getting worse, and on my fourth day, nakita ko lumalala yung X-rays ko. I was turning white and getting worse and worse. I knew I was going to get intubated. For the layman, intubation is when they put a tube inside your mouth. It goes straight to your windpipe. They attach it to a machine which will help you breathe. At that point, hindi pa ako masyadong hirap huminga, pero inagapan na. There's the protocol called early prophylactic intubation. Yun ang ginawa sa akin. Hindi nila hinintay hanggang lumala that I was gasping for air already. I was intubated early. I was hooked up to a ventilator early. They gave me all sorts of drugs, antivirals, antibiotics, plus a drug that is supposed to stifle the immune response, kasi masyadong malakas yung inflammatory response na-induce ng virus. I stayed in the ICU for 7 days. They extubated me on the 7th day. While I was in the ICU, I was not sedated during the intubation. I was fully awake. I was only sedated during the intubation process itself. But once that wore off, tuloy-tuloy na, gising na ako nun. So I exercised in my room. In bed, I was lying down. I couldn't get up and stand around, of course. I did straight leg raising exercises. I flexed my knees and my hips, my shoulders. I had to do this kasi I see patients who come to me for shoulder pain and shoulder stiffness after prolonged hospitalization. I did not want that to happen to me. So I exercised my arms, my shoulders, my legs. I kept my back straight all the time. So I eventually, after they extubated me, on the first day I was out of the ICU, I walked the bathroom by myself. So I did not want to get the condition. Medyo nahihilo pa ako. That lasted for 2 weeks. Yung parang call it sea legs, para kang nasa bangka all the time. That lasted for about 2 weeks. But I was fit enough to walk about. But it was medyo nakakapagod. I'm right now in the attic. This was my quarantine quarters. Walking from the ground floor to the attic was not that difficult. But once I got here, I had to sit down and take several deep breaths kasi kakapusin ka. That took about a week or two to disappear.
How have you been, Doc? How have you been since you were released from the hospital? To let people know that you are fit, you exercise regularly, you're a runner, and
yes, I am.
So how has the recovery been?
My quarantine, I was discharged on Palm Sunday. So Easter Sunday, the week after Easter, tapos na yung quarantine ko. I had 2 weeks of quarantine. So the first day out of quarantine, I exercised. I took a walk around the village. I was able to handle a 5-kilometer walk. Of course, I had to wear a mask kasi nasa labas ako nun. Hindi pa ako nag-attempt tumakbo, but gradually, I put in a little jog in there, sisingit-singit ko. It was a gradual climb. Right now, I'm doing okay. Yesterday, I ran 5 kilometers. Tuloy-tuloy na yon. So I was able to handle that. My lung capacity has improved a lot. I have an incentive spirometer. I will show it to you. It's this. It's a device that measures your lung capacity. So
you mentioned earlier, Doc, that you have hypertension, but it's controlled. So what do you recommend to high-risk individuals who how should they navigate this life after quarantine?
High-risk individuals, of course, the first concern is survival. I cannot speak for myself. I do not consider myself high risk because although I may have hypertension, it was really under control. I never really had any bouts of hypertension with my maintenance medication. The most important thing for the high risk people is not to get the disease in the first place. They're the ones at risk for greater mortality, greater morbidity. If you make it out, of course, you still have to follow through with your previous lifestyle. I have read a lot of stories about people who are having a hard time getting back to the groove, no, yung dati nilang lifestyle. People feel a lot of aches and pains here, hindi sila makalakad. I have already communicated with one of my friends who was a physiatrist with rehab specialists. I think that should be emphasized during the confinement. That rehabilitation does not start after discharge. It starts during confinement. I did not have any formal referral to rehab, but I did that by myself. Swerte because I am aware of the complications. But I think hospital protocol should include it very early.
Nakatulong po yan sabi ng mga yung comments ng mga sa inyo na your physical fitness really helped, no? Na you're a runner, nakatulong ho yun, di ba, sa recovery ninyo?
It did. Yung pa pong sa aking recovery confinement, Kasi nung my X-rays, if you are to look at my X-rays, they looked horrible nung time na intubate ako. One lung is completely white, the other lung is half white. But I was sitting comfortably. Hindi ako hinihingal. Hirap lang ako na once I go to the bathroom and when I go back, I have to catch my breath. When I eventually got intubated, my infectious disease doctor, she went on rounds. She's also a runner. She told me, your runner's lung saved you. You have a lot of reserve capacity. You have a lot of reserve capacity. So somehow it helped me during the recovery in my stay in the ICU.
Yeah, so matanong ko kayo and si Dr. Castillo din and Dr. Agra, are you scared na kasi si Senator Angara nag-recur bumalik yung
Okay.
COVID positive niya, so do you have that fear now?
Not as much kasi although there are reports na merong mga recurrence, there are more reports that there are false positives in the testing method. So most likely, so-called recurrences are actually negative people, but they are reported as false positive. The test itself reported it as positive when they don't have the virus, in fact.
How about Dr. Agra, as a pulmonologist, do you think yung possibility ng recurrence ng COVID?
Hindi pa natin alam how long is the immunity, no? Like, kunwari, measles, you have lifetime immunity if you had it, or chickenpox. But for COVID, we don't know yet. But we see patients, totoo yung sinasabi nila na nag-negative na ako. We have patients who are so frustrated. They had a negative swab. The following week, positive swab naman, no? Pero yung swab po kasi, they detect the RNA or the DNA of the virus. So it does not necessarily mean that it's an active infection. So if we want to be academic about it, we have to culture that thing to see if it will grow. Otherwise, parang sa crime scene, di ba? We get a strand of hair. It's not really alive, but we get the DNA, so it will turn out positive. So pwedeng shedding, that's what they call viral shedding. So you still have some remnants of the virus in your body. So because the PCR is a very sensitive test, it can still detect the remnant of that virus, but not necessarily an active infection. So the
nakakahawa ba, Doc?
MRTG will be complementary. Yes?
Nakakahawa ba ang taong nag-positive and gumaling?
Technically, hindi na. Pero yun nga, wala tayong way, by just the PCR itself, na kunwari from negative, nag-positive ako, we don't have a way of saying whether it's an active infection or not kasi nga hindi tayo nag-culture. So minsan, mahirap for the doctor to categorically say na hindi ka na nakakahawa, 'di ba? So that's why when they send the patient home, dati kasi ang mandate 2 negative swabs before they send the patient home. So technically, hindi na sila nakakahawa, pero may advice pa rin na mag-quarantine for another 2 weeks. So that's playing it safe just so that they would be less infectious kasi hindi pa rin natin alam exactly how the virus behaves. Now, the antibody naman, yung sinasabi din ni Dr. Mariales na test siya for antibody, that can also give us an idea nasaan na yung recovery or nakamount ba ng immune response yung patient dun sa viral infection.
How about Dr. Castillo? Ano ho ang palagay sa recurrence na to?
Yun nga, yung sabi nga ni Doc Gwen, it doesn't mean that you're picking up the virus when we do the swab test again. Parang yung mga remnant particles na lang, mga patay ng parts of the virus. So that means it's not infective anymore. Sa South Korea, they're monitoring their population of patients na ganito, gumaling na, nag-negative, and then nagpa-positive ulit. So they're monitoring this subpopulation of patients. And so far, mga almost 2 months na nilang minomonitor, may na nga sigurong 2 months yung iba, wala namang sign, wala namang indication that the patients are having an acute, a recurrence again of COVID. So at least what we can say is that there's an short-term immunity to COVID. Parang nagkasipon tayo, pag nagkasipon tayo, mayroon tayong immunity for a few weeks, a couple of months, but maaari tayong magkasipon uli, no? After 2 or 3 months. So there's that possibility. Hindi pa natin makuha kasi bago pa lang ang COVID. So we don't know if there's going to be a long-term immunity, no? Kaya yun ang susubaybayan ng ating mga scientists ngayon, no? So, but importante, yun na nga, if you're a COVID patient, importante palakasin mo yung resistensya mo rather than worry about the positive test again. No, huwag mo nang isipin yun. Importante, wala kang nararamdaman. Para kang si Doc Robbie, you feel great again. Parang halos normal na pakiramdam mo. Kahit na mag-positive pa yung kanyang test. So, it should not be alarming. Ang concern niya is to make sure that his or her immune system ay malakas. Because kung malakas ang immune system, there's no way for that virus to get in again. No?
So, Doc, all the doctors, what's your recommendation to employers in order to protect their employees? Kasi babalik na yung mga tao sa mga opisina. How should the workspaces be set up? And should companies start to impose work shifts to avoid crowds?
Yes. Alam mo, yun ang dapat mga 1 week na bago ma-lift yung lockdown, dapat ina-announce na kung ano talaga ang magiging disposition so that everyone can prepare. No? Mahirap mag-prepare nga, okay, lifted na, then tomorrow you can go back to work. Hindi, dapat handa lahat yan eh. There must be very strict workplace protocols. Now, yung sa lifting naman, if I can just go back, kwan rin yan, sabi nga natin, calibrated. For example, you cannot just have one policy for the whole country, no? Yung mga low risk regions natin ay dapat totally lifted na yung yung ECQ. Yung mga moderate risk, yun, pwedeng i-transition siguro, no? But I would say even the high risk like NCR, tatlo lang naman ang high risk eh. NCR, kasama tayo, Cebu City, and some areas in Laguna. Yan lang ito ang talagang high risk. Para sa akin, pwede nang i-test ang waters in a very, calibrated manner. No? Like yung mga malalakas naman ng resistance, mga bata, less than 50 years of age, wala namang ibang sakit, okay na okay ang pangangatawan, they can be allowed to go to work. And then basta there must be strict workplace protocols. Hindi pwedeng dikit-dikit, hindi pwedeng sabay-sabay kumain. They can just probably eat in their own workplaces. Tapos yung usual hand hygiene, no? Frequent hand washing, checking of the temperature when they get in, alcohol sa lobby, no? Ang crucial lang talaga point is the transportation, no? Kasi hindi naman lahat may sarili-sariling sasakyan. Yun lang ang medyo kailangan pag-isipan paano mapoprovidean ng public transportation yung mga walang sasakyan na hindi sila masyadong nagsisiksikan. So, naroon na yung pwedeng iba-ibang work schedule, no? Meron papasok ng alas 6, uwi ng alas 3, some will go to work at 7, then get off at 4. So, iba-iba. So, parang walang peak hours, no? And then, pwedeng i-compress rin so that instead of going to work 5 days a week, they only go to work 3 or 4 days a week, no? So, importante is, again, to prevent the congestion sa commute. Yun lang ang medyo magkakatalo yan. Plus, of course, yung mga non-essential establishments, yun naman, siguro it should remain closed muna. Yung mga essential establishments lang muna ang kaya nga calibrated, titimplahin. And then after every week, i-review, no, what happens to the new cases. Madami ba or na-maintain naman, no? How is the healthcare system? Is it able to cope? Expectedly there will be a minor surge after the lifting, but yun na kailangan ma-contain. I'm quite optimistic because coronavirus is just like the ordinary virus, no? O yung influenza virus, seasonal rin yan eh. So, seasonal rin yan. Parang yung SARS rin noon, yung SARS-CoV. So, during the cooler months, so from November to early April, medyo malamig-lamig, nagpe-predomination. Pero during the summer months, medyo nababawasan yan. But maaaring mag-pick up again pagdating ng November or December. So yun ang medyo ingatan. Sa tingin ko, we'll have our second surge sa bandang November and December. But we have enough time to prepare for that.
Safe na bang pumunta sa mall o magsimba, Doc?
For me, yung pwedeng maiwasan, iwasan na muna. Where, the gathering where you have crowding of people gathering. So yung malls, kung hindi naman mga essential establishment, I think they should remain closed for now. For now, dahan-dahan para bang binubuksan mo yung tubig, dahan-dahan mo lang tingnan mo kung kaya pa yung buhos ng tubig, o di itimpla mo na lang yung handle. Ngayon yung worship yun, of course it's also essential for us, no? But kung pwede naman, I think now we're doing well with the Zoom and Viber, etc. We can worship and we can meet. So lahat ng pwedeng virtual na lang muna for now. Dahan-dahan nga. So mga face-to-face meetings, we should avoid that. We should minimize that. So we should optimize really the use of mga teleconferencing and virtual digital meetings.
Okay.
Doc Gwen, Doc Robbie, do you have anything to add to that?
I completely agree with the workplace changes, the workplace protocol. I completely agree with Dr. Castillo. The problem, again, I agree with him with the transportation. Mahirap pagsabay-sabayan. Ilan ang kasya sa isang jeep, mabawasan mo yan. Hindi mo pwedeng pagsiksikin lahat. I cannot say anything about the seasonality of the virus. We know too little about the virus right now. We haven't been through 1 year of that. Hindi pa natin alam ang behavior ng virus talaga. So let's see how it's going to be. I don't know how it responds to climatic changes. Right now, I wouldn't know.
Okay.
If we go back to work, important talaga yung during breaks. Even in healthcare workers, dyan sila nagkaka-infect sa isa't isa, no? When they take off their mask, they eat together, mamaya maghahampasan na sila. I mean, it's our culture and it's so difficult to adjust. But we really have to enforce naka-mask, they have enough space in between them. That's very important.
Okay, so si Pat has something to say.
Thank you very much to our speakers. It seems as though that our discussion has really piqued the interest of our viewers, as we can see a lot of your questions in the comment section. So don't worry, we're going to be answering that for our second segment. But for now, we're going to go on for a quick break, a 3-minute break. So please stay tuned for more. So thank you again for tuning in to Inclusive, the Inquirer webinar series presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer and Icon Executive Asia. This live stream event would not be possible without the help of our sponsors, SM Supermalls. Please kindly see the video. Okay, we would also like to thank Arcovia City by MegaWorld. We'd also like to thank our organization partners, Inquirer.net, Inquirer Lifestyle, Icon Executive Asia, and Shoppertainment Live. Okay, now we go on to the second segment of our panel session. I'll be turning it over now to Miss Thelma. Thelma?
Questions, very interesting from our those who joined us. Let's start with a question from Chona Casas. How could dentists resume with their dental practice in GCQ if social distancing is needed? Wow, that's a very common question being asked now. Can we get the three doctors to answer briefly? Dr. Castillo, can you start with that?
Yes, so it has been emphasized, it will never become like normal again. It will not be business as usual. So we'll really have to make a lot of changes. But the ultimate question that we have to answer: what is the risk involved? If it's a high risk procedure or a high risk encounter, then one has to be really fully prepared. No, dapat may PPE. Kaya nga yung PPE, iba-iba rin yon, depende kung high risk, may moderate risk and low risk, no. So kung low risk, wala masyado, you're dealing with one which does not have COVID symptoms. You don't have to go near the patient. You can maintain that distance. So all you need actually is a mask, at most a face shield. Pero yung ganong mga dental procedures, I would classify that as a high risk procedure, because you can never tell if your patient is an asymptomatic COVID patient. So mas makuha dapat ang protection. So
Paano ang
parang
protection naman ng patient with the
yung
dentist? Paano?
yes. Baka yung dentista naman ang may COVID, no? Pero kung kung if the dentist is wearing PPE, so that means his or her risk of transmitting, kung meron man siyang virus, is also negligible, no? Kasi fully kwan siya. Pag mga ganun kwan, parang yung kanina binanggit ni Gwen, ano, yung mga nag-o-opera, nag-deliver, they're wearing PPEs, no? Complete personal protective equipments, PPEs. So ganun rin, kung medyo makuha ng risk, they may have to wear PPEs, no? It's better to be sure. It's better to be a little overprotected than a little underprotected.
Yes, how about Dr. Gwen? Meron kayong comment doon? Meron kayong maa-add?
I agree. No, we really have a set of PPEs depending on the procedure. So like kami, if we go on rounds on non-COVID floors, okay na yung ordinary mask. But if it's a COVID ward, talagang full. So ganun lang. And the risk of procedure. So pag dentist may aerosolization, so talagang kailangan mas matindi yung defense.
How
Unlike kay Dr. Robbie na ortho, hindi masyadong close contact. So maybe less PPE.
How about Doc Rowie? May comment kayo?
Yeah. I have a kumare who's a dentist. And she's active with the PDA, with the Philippine Dental Association. Madami silang guidelines eh. Yung the use of the PPE. I mean, these are the bunny suits, not just the face shields. Full bunny suits sila. And there was an earlier recommendation. I don't know if they're going to push through that they have to change PPEs every patient. Now, there's a difference because there are procedures which are non-aerosolized naman yung pasyente. Like, for example, extractions, sabi nga niya, hindi naman masyadong risky yun. The riskier ones are the ones with drilling. The ones with drilling, they have to prepare in every patient. So, I have seen pictures of proposed procedures done under a plastic hood. I think they're not going to go through that. I think they're planning more on the exhaust, which would draw out whatever droplets that you have near the patient. But dentists right now are really the ones preparing for this. They're the ones who are really exposed of high risk. Isa pang tinitignan nila ay mandatory testing for patients. Maybe at least the rapid test. Makikita nila kung kung negative yung pasyente, no IgGs, or no IgMs or something. If there's evidence that the patient has an active infection, makikita naman sa rapid test yun. They're looking into that. I
Since
do
you're,
not know
yes,
exactly their protocols right now.
Doc, since you're there, see, we have a question from Miss Tessa Valdez. Can we ask Dr. Robbie for tips now that he's recovered? Quick tips lang ho.
Quick tips.
Yes.
Eat well. Eat properly. I mean, nutrition is still the key. You should have positive protein balance. You should be eating the right proteins. Try to get back into your rhythm. If you've been afflicted with the disease, try to get back slowly into it. You do not baby this thing. Your body will not get better if you just lie around in the house and sit there. Try to get your heart moving, try to get your lungs expanding. Do some physical activity. You will only decondition yourself if you just lay around in the house. Kailangan kumilos po.
A follow-up, Doc, on protection. This is from Alexei Villaraza. What mask is really best to use, and is it too much to use an N95 even if you aren't sick?
Yes.
Gwen, I think, Dr. Gwen, I think you're the best.
N95 is too much for somebody who does not have symptoms, for somebody who does not work in the hospital or who doesn't see a COVID patient. It's too much. We're actually preserving our N95 masks. No, we're even recycling it up to using a few more times. Kasi kulang na kulang siya. So please do not use your N95 left and right. The ordinary surgical mask can protect you na. Yung for ordinary activities, yes, that's enough.
Yung mga homemade, Doc, yung mga homemade na masks that people have been sewing at home, is that sufficient protection?
Well, that sort of, for me, hindi siya standard kasi hindi siya water repellent. Pero it gives you a reminder not to touch your face and also to maintain distance kasi parang pag nakamask, di ba, parang may sort of mental ano ka na you're not supposed to get close to this person.
Ayun. Another question from Ruth Mayo. What are the things that we should see before we deem it safe to open schools or other recreational spaces?
Pag mababa na yung nagpa-positive, I guess, yung consistently decreasing rate of people having a positive test from our DOH data, and then our hospitals are becoming empty na because no more COVID patients.
From Jackie Aquino, any one of you can answer. What are the best vitamins and supplements we can take?
Most of the vitamins for immunity, vitamin C, D, and zinc, yan yung pinaka-common.
I agree.
Yeah, yung sinulat ko nga, no, I call it the maize CD protection, maize CD, no. Yun nga, vitamin A, C, D, E, and pati E, no, plus zinc, and then yung melatonin. You know, I think melatonin is unrecognized as actually one of the best supplements that can really boost the immune system. So, we're publishing a paper sa international journal of our pilot study of 10 patients, which one, moderate to severe COVID, 4 had ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. Yung talagang parang katulad nangyari kay Robbie, no? Talagang hirap huminga and medyo kinailangan pang ikabit sa respirator. All of them survived. Yung 10 pa lang ito, survived, and less need for yung ikabit sa respirator at mas maagang napauwi. So we're trying to validate that with a multi-center randomized controlled trial now, and 5 mga eminent researchers from abroad have joined us, no? dalawa from Canada sa McMaster University and University of Toronto and tatlo sa States. So, yung nga, sinulatan nila kami, sabi nila, yan rin ang gusto namin gawin, but nauna na kayo, we will just support you. So, sinusuportahan tayo. So, hopefully, Robbie, Gwen, you can participate in this multi-center trial. Now, we will be rolling it out soon.
Yung next question ho, medyo nasagot nyo na, Dr. Castillo, kanina. But I think the participant wants to reiterate, si Mrs. Kailan, what are the parameters that will indicate that the curve has really been flattened?
The flattening of the curve is a general term. It simply means that instead of pataas pa yung curve, medyo either nagpa-plateau or pababa na siya, no? Actually, in our case, napakita natin in the last several weeks na medyo bumaba na, but for a few days this week, medyo nag-plateau siya. But at least hindi na tumataas, hindi na yung pataas pa lang na part ng curve, no? So, ang basihan roon, yung sabi natin kanina is, hindi dapat siya tumataas such that na-overwhelm yung healthcare system of any particular country or any particular place. Ibig sabihin, kayang ma-handle ng healthcare system. And I think as of now, manageable naman yung number of new cases that we have. Kaya pa naman. So pag pumunta ka sa hospital, hindi ka itataboy, sasabihin na puno na kami, hindi ka na pwedeng ma-accommodate. So medyo may allowance pa tayong konti.
Okay, this is from Alan Yap for Dr. Gwen. Medyo nasagot nyo na to kanina, Doc, if you have anything to add. Are false positives or those who recovered is still infectious? And how long is the safe period for them to be quarantined? How long should patients like Dr. Robbie be quarantined to have them deemed safe to mingle with the public?
Usually 2 weeks observation to see if they develop symptoms again or to see how they recover. And then most of the time they're deemed non-infectious. So kung nagpa-persistently positive pa din yung swab, they combine it to the prick of the IgM, IgG just to make sure.
The 2-week period is, when you say quarantine, it's not just quarantining yourself outside in the public. It's quarantining yourself from everybody else in the house.
Isolation, actually. It's an isolation.
Isolation from everyone else in the house. This is the room where I stayed for 2 weeks. I slept alone. I ate alone. Whenever I have to go out, of course, I really still have to go out of the room. I have to wear a mask. And I went nowhere close to my family. My wife, my children, hindi ko pwedeng lapitan. We would say our prayers na nandun ako sa malayo, nandun sila sa malayo. It's a 2-week isolation. After that, pwede na. Natanggal ko na yung mask ko sa bahay. Mingled with them. Only time I got to hug my children were then. Wala na. Pwede na.
Robbie, yung 2 weeks is after your discharge. Hindi yung... So, kaya parang total of 4 weeks yan. Para sigurado, kung mild cases, lalo na yung nag-positive na yung symptomatic, pwede na yung total of 21 days. Pero kung more severe cases, like yung case ni Robbie, mas maganda 28 days from the start of symptom, no? So 28 days. Kasi yun ang viral shedding period and maximum 28 days.
Correct.
There's another question here from Ms. Lisa Morales. Are diabetics really considered as high risk?
Kung pwede kong sagutin yan. Actually, that's the reason. I'm a cardiologist. Nagtataka siguro sa iba, bakit involved si Dr. Rafi sa mga COVID? Because a lot of patients with heart problems and diabetics, mga hypertension, are also referred to us for co-management. So patients with diabetes and hypertension, as well as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, bronchial asthma, and those yung sobrang taba with morbid obesity, sila ang napakita na talaga mataas ang risk nga maaring magkaroon ng critical COVID na ma-intubate at maaring mamatay. Pero ang nakakakuan lang, medyo quite alarming, mas mataas ang risk ng hypertensive patient. Ordinarily, parang pag may diabetes, mas mataas ang risk noon kaysa sa may alta presyon. Pero sa COVID, mas mataas ang risk ng may alta presyon.
So
Yun ang
yung
hindi,
mataas ko ang blood pressure, yung hypertensive.
basta may history of hypertension, maring controlled na umiinom ng gamot, pero mas mataas ang risk nila kaysa roon sa mayroong diabetes. Hindi natin alam kung because of the hypertension itself or because of the medicines that they're taking for hypertension. Nagkaroon ng konting debate riyan. In fact, I was heavily involved in the debate there. I took a contrarian view. But anyway, hindi pa natin alam. Basta yun nga, kung may hypertension ka at nagtitake ka ng mga gamot sa hypertension, isang guni mo siguro sa doktor mo kung kailangan palitan ng gamot mo or you stick to the same medicine. Pero wag mong ititigil. Ha?
Bakit high risk din ang mga matataba?
Yung mga may morbid obesity, yung sobrang taba, hindi naman yung medyo pleasantly plump lang, yung mga sobrang taba, morbid obesity, so mga body mass index nila nasa 30. Medyo high risk, masasagot ni Gwen yan. But ang natin kasi, mas ang compliance ng lungs, pag matataba, medyo mas actually restricted. Kala mo, ang laki-laki nila, malaki ang lungs. Actually, pag kinuha mo ng x-ray, mas maliliit ang lungs nila kasi naiipit na nung taba nila. So, pag nagkaroon ng problema ang lungs, hindi na masyadong maka-expand. No? Kaya medyo mas high risk rin sila compared to one with normal body weight.
Doctor, may masasabi po kayo doon?
Yes, I agree. Kasi pag tumataba tayo, lumalaki tayo, our lungs do not follow. Okay? Secondly, those who are obese, madalas, mas hindi sila active. And patients with COVID, they're more prone to get clots. No? Pwede sila magkaroon ng clots sa leg that can go to the lung or that can cause a stroke. So that's why mas high risk sila.
So would you recommend that we try to lose weight? You know, just to...
Yes, this is actually a reminder for all of us, itong nagkaroon ng quarantine, to live healthy lifestyles, diba? This is siguro ito yung one of the good stuff na nangyari. Parang nagkaroon tayo ng reminder na all of us will be at risk, so let's try to be healthy.
Yeah.
Doc, dito ba, have we had cases like the ones being reported in the States, inflammatory disease daw on children related to COVID?
Kawasaki.
So far, wala kaming masyado nakikitang pediatric cases. We also discussed it in the webinar yesterday. So I have no comments. Wala akong nakikita.
Kamakailan, nagkaroon rin kami ng webinar with an Italian expert, cardiovascular expert, si Professor Elisetti. Yun nga rin ang kwan niya, ang mga bata, may mga na-report sa kanila nga nagkakaroon ng diffuse inflammatory disease. Kasi yun nga, babanggitin natin sa kanila, Gwen and Robbie, nga yun ang problema sa virus. Actually, yung viral infection, hindi naman matindi yun. Ang problema noon, yung how the body reacts to the virus. Ang reaction ng body ay sobrang pamamaga ng practically lahat ng parte ng katawan. No? And that can include the arteries, the blood vessels, kaya nga nagkakaroon ng blood clots na sinabi ni Gwen kanina. And sa mga bata, kung meron ng predisposition to develop yung tinatawag na arteritis, pamamaga ng mga ugat, napapadali tuloy yun.
Is that why you recommend also melatonin?
Yes. Kasi yung nga, sabi ko nga alam mo kung lahat magte-take ng melatonin, yung mga high risk, I think pwede mo nang ipanglaban yung we can be in a better position to fight the virus together with the other immune system boosting agent. Kasi yun ang irony, no, with prolonged quarantine. Unwittingly, we're weakening the immune system. No? Kasi pati yung hindi ka man lang po makalabas sa gate mo, no, na magpa-araw ka, no? Pati nga 'di ba yung sa exclusive condominium dito sa Kwan, nandoon lang sila sa pool, nagpapainit, pinapasok lahat, no? Unwittingly, the government is overzealous in keeping everyone inside the house. Hindi na tayo naiinitan. We're not getting enough sunlight. And sunlight is the cheapest, most economical, and one of the most effective treatment or preventive measures against COVID. And we're not getting enough sunlight. Palagi tayong sa loob, hindi ka man lang makalabas. And we cannot really exercise well. Napapalakas ang kain natin, so mas lalo tayong tumataba. No? We cannot control our diet. And we're not really that motivated to exercise kasi yung lalo na yung mga masisikip ang bahay. So, kaya yun ang medyo downside of prolonging the lockdown. No?
How much sunlight should we be getting, Doc, every day?
Ideally, at least 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight every day. Kahit na early morning or late afternoon sun, it should
20
give
minutes,
us
matagal din po yun.
early morning or late afternoon. Wag naman yung tanghaling tapat. Baka mag-heat stroke naman. Wag naman yung Kahit pwede mo rin i-stagger. Kaya katulad rito, may parang indirect sunlight ako. I stay practically here the whole day. So I think I'm getting enough sunlight, no, to boost my vitamin D level. Ngayon, kung hindi tayo naarawan, kailangan taasan natin ang dose ng vitamin D supplements natin.
May question po dito kay, Doc, sasabihin kayo, Doc Robbie?
Yeah, I completely agree with Dr. Castillo kasi yun nga, maraming tao nakakulong lang sa bahay. I think some restrictions are absurd that you're not even allowed to take a walk outside your community. Kung mag-isa ka lang, pwede naman yon. If you're going around with a face mask, pwede naman yon. Kung may kasama ka, as long as kasama mo rin sa bahay, nothing wrong in that. Going out of the house is really a good thing. Kung nakakulong ka sa bahay, kakain ka ng mas madami. Mas maraming nagko-complain ngayon na yung sinabi ni Dr. Gwen na you have a healthier lifestyle. More people right now are getting fatter and fatter at their own homes. Kasi hindi na nga nakakilos. Ako, so far, okay pa naman. I lost weight. I haven't regained any of that, but I'm happy with it. So,
from June De Leon, we got this question. Can we really make a plan, even if we don't know when and how this will end? I think the three of you, Doc, can answer this. Would you like to start, Doc Robbie?
Can we make a plan even if we don't know
how this will,
right now? Sabi sa Art of War, you have to know your enemy. Diba? We don't know our enemy completely. Hindi natin alam kung ano ang tamang gamot. Hindi pa natin alam kung yung trends ng seasonal behavior ng gamot. What do we have right now? Statistics on community transmission. Community transmission, we know there's a certain value called R0. R0 is the capacity of the disease to spread. If one person can spread it to another person, only one person, the disease has an R0 of 1. If that means you can have parang equal lang yon. But if you have it equal lang, pag isang taong nagkasakit, dadami pa rin sa ibang tao. If you have an R0 of more than 1, let's say 2 or 3, that is the disaster. Paakyat ng paakyat yung numbers. What we want to do is to reduce that R0 to less than 1. So a person can infect less than one person. And that's the only time that your curve goes down. Dun lang bababa. We have to reduce the amount of transmission. Yung sinasabi natin na very strict restrictions dito sa Pilipinas, that's on paper but it's not true. Lumabas ka, ang daming tao sa palengke. Even the government itself, mamimigay ng ayuda, imbes na ibigay sa bahay, papipilahin nila sa labas, dun sa barangay hall. Nagsisiksikan ng mga tao. So paano mo ma-expect na bababa yung transmission? Community transmission is the one, that's the enemy. Yun yung dapat nating ma-address. Paano tayo lalabas if we cannot stem community transmission?
Okay. We have another chat. Do you have a question there?
Yes, this is from Yas Soyal. Please update us on the indication of chloroquine, hydroxyquine, and remdesivir in the treatment of COVID. Can they be given to patients with highly suspicious signs and symptoms of COVID, even if no testing was done or before the patient goes to the hospital? Or should they only be given in a hospital setup?
Definitely sa hospital lang because they might also have some side effects like chloroquine can prolong your interval sa heart rate mo and can cause some and also because we want to test you, we have some parameters also to follow. So may mga markers tayo that would tell us na most likely this will go into a serious condition. You check your oxygen, your x-ray. So we can't just give chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine left and right. Remdesivir right now is still a study drug. You have to be enrolled in the study to be able to get that drug. So sa mga hospitals lang that are in that trial.
Do we have it here, Dr. Gwen?
Yes, meron na. It's called the Solidarity Trial. We have, I'm sure Makati Med would have that. BGC, it's controlled with DOH and WHO. So,
Do you
meron
Any
ng-
intravenous, correct?
Come again? IV, yes.
An intravenous drug.
Yes.
Yeah.
Intravenous.
should the employees going back to work be tested? Should there be testing in that sense?
If I
Yes,
may
I think so.
Yeah.
The minimum, I think, is at least the rapid test. The rapid test will tell you if you have mounted an immune response to the illness. We have two general types of antibodies: the IgG, which lasts long after infection, and the IgM, which tells you if you have an acute infection. Right now, I have been tested for that. My IgG is positive because I had the infection, but my IgM is negative because I do not have an active infection. What the test is supposed to do is to detect if you have an IgM positive patient which have no symptoms. Those are the ones who could have an active infection and they should be swabbed. Yun ang dapat sinaswab.
But
Now-
then we have to find the good kit pa, no? We haven't
Yes,
identified the best
Right.
kit yet.
right now we don't know yet kung alin yung magandang
Yeah,
test.
yun ang malaking problema. No? Kaya nga, yung isinulat ko nga minsan, nga kung gagamitin natin yung rapid test na available ngayon, mas mabuti pa mag-toss coin na lang tayo. You'll get probably a better result, no, yung toss coin. Because you'll be missing a lot. Kung yun ang habol mo, is to be able to diagnose those with acute infection na maring makahawa, the sensitivity or pickup rate is less than 1/3. No? Sa ibang trial nga, 10-20% lang. Pero kung halimbawa katulad yung kaso mo, Robby, na nagkaroon na talaga and then pa-recover, now that can help in detecting if you already have the antibody. And certainly you will have the antibody by the second week you start producing the antibody. So okay yung ganun. Pero not as a screening test, no, to find out kung sino maring makahawa.
Sino ho ba talaga dapat ang magpa-test? Like for example, I have a friend who will be visiting his parents. So, kailangan ba magpa-test siya para sure na hindi siya carrier? Ganon?
Again, dapat tanungin niya sarili niya, may dahilan ba siya parang magpa-test, ano? May symptoms, na-expose ba siya to someone who might have had COVID? Nagtatrabaho ba siya in a hospital? So, in short, ano ang probability na mayroon siyang COVID na wala lang siyang symptom? Pag wala naman, the probability is minimal. So, I don't think she has to undergo a test. Kasi lalo na ngayon, medyo hindi pa sapat talaga yung ating yung PCR, RT-PCR natin. Ano? Imbis na magawa sa iba na talagang nangangailangan ng test, nauubos tuloy. Kaya nga di ba criticize natin yung mga politiko, nga pati mga pamilya nila, katulong nila, ipinapatesting nila. Kasi nawawalan tuloy yung mga ibang nangangailangan ng test. So, medyo, it's not at this point, I don't think it's really advisable. So again, yung sa kaibigan mo, Thelma, kung wala naman siyang mag-face mask lang siya, maintain the distancing. I think his or her parents will be safe.
Yeah, nanonood ho siya ngayon. Anyway, from our copy desk editor, si Alia Honasan, ang question niya, any one of you can answer, how do we keep a positive mindset among the poor if food itself is a problem? Parang this goes beyond medical question.
I agree. Kaya nga, we really have to find ways to resume work. Pero we have to be very careful because we might do more harm than good.
Yeah.
Okay, last question, Che. You have?
Ay, Telma, pwede ko lang kwan ha, yung hindi biro ito, no? Pero alam mo, sabi nila, intermittent fasting, which we all know, no? Nakakatulong sa immune system, no? So even a few days of fasting na basang fully hydrated, hindi nakakapanghina sa atin, nakakapalakas pa sa katawan natin. Basang provided na, wag naman yung tuloy-tuloy. Kung mga 3 days na fasting with water, tapos iinom ka ng, kakain ka uli, and then fasting uli, yung pan, if it's any consolation, no? Pero maganda rin yung kumakain tayo regularly.
Last question na lang for the doctors, because we read so much and we get so much information everywhere. Are there any other myths that you want to correct about the virus that myths, yeah.
Anyone of you can answer? We're running out of time, Doc.
Yeah, yung simulan ko na siguro, yung mga myth nga namamatay ang virus sa alcohol. So pag uminom tayo araw-araw, regularly, magpapakalasing tayo yung malalakas na alcohol, that can kill the virus. Walang katotohanan yon, no? Baka mamatay tayo sa komplikasyon ng alcoholism or yung excessive drinking, no? Tapos yung i-reiterate ko lang, yung myth na rapid testing can diagnose everyone who have COVID. No, it's mag-toss coin na lang kayo, mas maganda pa, no? Mas siguro mas accurate pa ang inyong makukuhang result. And then siguro dagdagan na lang nila Gwen and Robbie, ibang myths pa.
Whatever you get from Viber or text na walang source, you have to verify the source. You also have to check reliable websites, CDC or DOH or ano, para ma-support siya. No? Not even taken from somebody from Stanford or whatever. You have to verify the source. So merong mga magte-text sa akin, Doc, meron nagsabi lemon water with ilang aspirin, drink it every day, all those stuff. No? So no, just try to verify the source. Make sure na, and then also consult your family doctor or whoever para lang ma-verify niya. Because there's also an infodemic aside from the epidemic.
There was something na nabasa ko from social media. May nagsabi na supposedly from an expert sa vaccination. Ang sinabi niya na kinalat na to ni-spread na. Sabi, magpa-immunize kayo against the influenza virus kasi there's the influenza vaccine because this is a similar virus and it will protect you against the coronavirus. Ang sinagot ko lang dun sa kasi doctor din yung nag-share Sabi ko, is this evidence-based? Kasi right now, wala tayong evidence that a vaccine against influenza virus can protect you against the coronavirus. People might be rushing to their doctors na, bigyan mo ako ng shot ng influenza tapos hindi na ako magko-corona. It might be a security blanket na hindi na sila masyadong mag-mask or masyado silang kampante na okay na ako, influenza virus ako bago nag-lockdown. Huwag ganon because that's not evidence-based. No?
Okay, so as much as we want to accommodate more questions today, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this inclusive session. We cannot thank our speakers and moderators enough for sharing their valuable expertise and insights with us. We feel that after hearing what they have to say, our viewers are more prepared to face what life is like after the enhanced quarantine is lifted or eased. We will be closing the online discussion with closing remarks coming from our speakers and moderators. Let's start off with Dr. Rafael Castillo. Doc Rafael?
Yeah, thank you, Pat. No? Things in proper perspective. Yun lang ang dahil sa sobrang takot natin, medyo na-overwhelmed tayo about the magnitude of the problem. It's something that we have to be concerned about. Wag naman yung sobrang takot tayo na hindi na tayo nakakapag-isip. And I would like to pin what Miss Aliao-Nasan asked earlier, no, how can we maintain a positive mindset kung kumukulo na ating sikmura, wala na tayong pantusto sa pamilya? Sana yun ang isipin rin ng gobyerno natin. Everything has to be calibrated. Although theoretically, we should maintain a prolonged lockdown or quarantine because we can avoid getting the virus that way. But yun ang nagiging we're losing the battle by default, no? Marami na tuloy rin nagsisuicide. Sabi lang sa akin ng isang kaibigan ko, 2 raw sa community nila nagsuicide na kasi wala na nga maipakain sa pamilya nila. Yung isa naman iniwan ng asawa niya. So these are factors that we also have to consider. I think so long as we can have the proper mindset to combat this contagion, I think the government can gradually lift the lockdown, parang calibrated talaga, dahan-dahan, and decide from there. We cannot make definitive plans from now, but at least we have to start moving and we have to start trying things out. So we know what is the best way or best strategy to really approach this crisis. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Castillo. Now let's hear from Dr. Robbie Meriales.
Yes.
Dr. Robbie?
Thank you. An important way to, probably the best way to approach this is social behavior changes. Hindi pwede tayong umasa sa gobyerno na gagawin ang lahat ng solution para. We have to make changes by ourselves. You have to behave. People have to behave.
Okay, we're just having a bit of a technical difficulty. Dr. Robbie, can you still hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, you lagged there for a bit. So can you please restate what you mentioned?
Yes. People have to change their behavior. This is a social phenomenon that we have to change our interaction with the society. You have to pretend that you have the virus yourself. Pretend that you don't want to spread it. That's the best way. Do not be confident that this person doesn't have the virus. I'm not going to get it. You always have to think that you have something and you don't want to spread it to someone. Because people right now are behaving as if this is an ordinary cold. No, this is a deadly disease. People die from it in their own homes, even in the best care in the hospital. So having the right mindset in prevention is the best way. Not everybody is lucky enough to get the proper medical care as I did. Many people out there do not have access to that. So prevention is the key. Behave as if you have the disease itself and you do not. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Meriales. Now let's listen to our last speaker, Dr. Gwen Diagra. Dr. Gwen?
Okay, 2 things. Number 1, regarding work, no, I know maraming gusto magtrabaho. Just like doctors, we're not allowed to hold clinics. So we have to have a plan B. No, hanap tayo ng way how to find work. Like people who are technologically challenged, doctors who are technologically challenged, they really have to learn how to do telemedicine. No, some of our seniors, you have to tutor them, fine, but we really have to adapt. So kahit anong line of work ka, find a way to adapt. Number 2, paulit-ulit pero yan pa rin. Hand washing, mask, and social distancing. Paulit-ulit kahit di mo na maalala lahat ng steps, patandaan mo yon because those will be part of our lifestyle already. Matagal, I think for the rest of the year or years even, that's gonna be part of our lifestyle. So let's practice that all the time. Let's be conscious all the time.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Dr. Gwen. We would also like to hear from our moderators this afternoon. Let's begin with Ms. Cheche Moral. Cheche?
Okay, thanks, Pat. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and thank you to our guest speakers. We hope the recommendations you heard from them have made you better equipped to safely go about your day-to-day lives. We're all sitting ducks without mass testing and a vaccine that could prevent this from virus from infecting us. But we can be proactive in protecting ourselves by strictly following health guidelines and by making sure we're getting our information only from credible and verified sources. Let's protect our families and communities and lessen the burden of our healthcare workers by protecting ourselves. Thank you again and stay safe.
All right, thank you for that, Cheche. And of course, we would like to hear a closing remark from the Inquirer Lifestyle Editor, Miss Thelma.
Maraming salamat sa inyo na nag-join dito, lalong-lalo na sa mga speakers namin whose ideas are so valuable, gave us valuable information. Gusto ko rin pasalamatan yung mga marketing people namin na nag-set up ng webinar na to at ating mga sponsors. And please continue reading the Inquirer for very authoritative information, but also ang closing remark ko lang is that this is the worst crisis that the Filipino, just like the rest of the world, is going through. We just hope that it will bring out the best of the Filipino, the best of our values, of our being united, we sink or swim together, and also it will show our faith in our country and in God, the values of the Filipino, so we can be together in this. Salamat po.
All right, thank you so much for that inspirational message, Ms. Thelma. And of course, I would like to thank our speakers and of course the other moderator, Ms. Cheche, for the valuable insights that we were able to gather today. That wraps up our panel's closing messages. We would also like to take this opportunity to inform our viewers that Philippine Daily Inquirer is offering a 30-day free trial of its digital edition, Inquirer Plus. For more information, you may visit inquirer.com.ph/Inquirer Plus. So thank you once again for being part of Inclusive, the Inquirer webinar series presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer and Icon Executive Asia. We would like to thank our speakers for today, as well as our generous sponsors, SM Supermalls. Thank you, SM Supermalls, who continue to serve us with essential services such as SM Markets, banks, pharmacies, takeout and delivery food options. Visit Facebook page of your nearest SM mall or follow the SM Supermalls Viber community. We would also like to thank Arcovia City by MegaWorld. We'd also like to acknowledge the organizations that have partnered with us. Thank you to Inquirer.net, Inquirer Lifestyle, Icon Executive Asia, and Shoppertainment Live. Last but not least, thank you to our viewers for being part of the first inclusive discussion. Continue reading the Inquirer for authoritative news and features. Once again, my name is Pat Soyo from Icon Executive Asia. Thank you for joining, and here's the last word from our sponsor. Thank you.